Hi there, everybody. It is day 30. We are finishing up a month of Bible reading, so great job. It is always great to be in the Bible more than we were the year before, and hopefully, for some of you, you're meeting those goals and getting in the Bible daily. If you are behind, don't worry, get caught up and keep rolling along. We've got plenty of year left. So let's talk about our reading for today. We are in Matthew chapter 20, and we are reading the first 16 verses of this chapter. And this is a parable about the laborers in the vineyard. So we have to remember what we read yesterday, which is Peter had asked the question, what about us? What are we going to get? Because we left everything to follow you. And so Jesus, as he often did, spoke in parables, and he told the story about this man who owned the land, and he would go to the marketplace to get day laborers. And so when he went early in the morning, probably around 6, he found some men to work in his vineyard, and he promised to pay them a denarius at the end of the day. And then as the day went on, he had plenty of work, and so he went to find more laborers. And so about at least 2 more times he went back to the marketplace, and he brought in the laborers and just said that he would pay them fairly. So at the end of the day, he actually pays them in reverse order. So the people who came in last and only worked probably about an hour, were given a denarius, which is what was promised at the beginning of the day. And then the next set of laborers were also given a denarius. And those who had worked all day were also given a denarius. So as you can imagine, the ones who were there at the very beginning were not very happy about that. And the landowner says, am I not able to do with my money the way I please? And he says, Jesus wraps up this section again and says, so the last will be first and the first last. And this is definitely a difficult concept when we talk about it in terms of man's mind and not God's mind, because we don't see that as fair. And so we can see this parable as a description of a couple of things. It could be just the different stages in life. Some people come to Christ early as kids. Some people, it's not till their adult years. And some people, it's even closer to the end of their life that they really build that relationship with Christ. And so we can line this parable up with those stages of life. We could look at it as in that time, the people at the beginning were maybe the ones who recognized it early from John the Baptist coming and announcing Jesus and his arrival, versus the ones later on who maybe didn't catch on even till after his resurrection. And so, no matter how we look at that parable in terms of who it's describing, what we do know is that God's grace is sufficient for us. And while in our minds it's hard to understand, the people who maybe come to Christ later in life or understand it later get the same we do. We have to understand that we're already getting what we don't deserve when we get the grace of God and when we accept him. And so he's giving not only fairly but generously to us. And we have to break away from that idea of the system of the law and then versus the system of grace. And this can be really difficult once we get into a relationship with Christ and we feel like we're doing all of these things. But remember, it's not works-based. And so it doesn't have to do with how much we accomplish or how many good deeds we do or tasks that we finish for Jesus. It all has to do with accepting his grace and living for him and glorifying him. And so we have to kind of wrap our mind around that and understand that God's rewards are not man's rewards, and that we need to be grateful for that grace that we did not deserve, that we were given. So I hope you have a wonderful day. Dwell on that today, about how grateful we are for God's grace and provision, and that He did not give us what we deserved. Bye, everybody.